I am here to talk to you about getting started on social media. Social media is something that I am incredibly passionate about as a communications professional who started my career in traditional public affairs. I was kind of thrust into social media because at that point, I was the youngest person in the room. And so I really learned from hands on experience building social media programs for both small scale and large scale entities, and I'm excited to share with you some tips and best practices for getting started on social media. So let's get into it. To level set and to start, one of the things for you to think about is why use social media at all? Social media may be daunting, especially if you're looking at the large landscape of so many tools that are available and trends that are changing day in and day out. But it's important to think about social media as a tool to reach your goals. And whether that be for a small business, a large business, or even if you are self employed, social media matters because it is a way for you to control your brand reputation. It allows you to protect and promote your brand, but also be a part of conversations where they are taking place. If you are not present on social media, there's someone who's speaking for you, whether that's a customer who's sharing good or bad experiences related to your product, or if there are competitors there who are talking about them and positioning themselves. You cannot help shape that conversation if you're not a part of it. Social media also is really important to cultivate relationships. It's a place where you can connect with key audiences, whether those be peers or thought leaders or customers, members of the media, if you're trying to get some media coverage, influencers, leads, and so many other audience segments. And we're going to talk about audiences in a little bit as well. And when it relates to social media, you can reach people where they are instead of requiring them to physically come to you. This afternoon, I'll talk about 6 steps for getting started on social media. The first step is to set a solid foundation for why you should use social media. Step two is to identify your audience. Step three is to determine your unique value. Step four is to research social media channels that are available. Step five is to build on what you already have. And step six is to create and iterate. Let's talk about step one. Step one is setting a solid foundation for using social media. When it comes to using social media, think of it as a tool, not a strategy. So before diving into a platform, you need to be incredibly clear on why you want to use it. That means you have to define your overall goal and your specific objectives. It's making a basic plan, thinking about, let's experiment if we do X and see how it performs, and then evaluating that. Now, when it comes to thinking about social media goals and even smart objectives, here are some examples of what that looks like. So, when you think about what you're trying to achieve on social media, it can vary. You could be a company or a brand who's trying to just build brand awareness, let people know that you exist. You could be a more established brand or company and you're trying to manage your reputation. You could be a small business where you're trying to build a community of advocates. You could be a product maker and you're trying to drive sales, or you could be an organization who's trying to drive leads. And lastly, you could be a company who provides customer service. These are just some examples of things to think about when it comes to finding your why for using social media. And once you've figured out what your why is for using social media and set that foundation, you can dig a little deeper and set specific objectives, smart objectives, things that are specific, measurable, actionable, and results, and also timely for you to, again, ladder up to those goals. So let's go back to increase brand awareness. If you're trying to increase brand awareness, a smart objective for you could be something like gaining 1,000 Snapchat or TikTok followers by the end of the month. If you are trying to manage your brand and business reputation, it could be something like getting 10 5-star reviews on Facebook within 2 months. Once you set these smart objectives, whatever they may be specific to your organization or your company, it's an opportunity for you to then go back after that specific time period to see how you did, what worked, what didn't, and to either set an even higher goal or to think about things that didn't work and how you want to adjust those tactics. The second step to getting started on social media is to think about your audience. Who exactly are you trying to reach? Your social media target audience is a group of people that you identify that you want to appeal to. This could be based on demographics such as their age, their job title, their income level, their education, their specific geographical location, or their behavior. Your social media target audience consists of the people who are most likely to be interested in your brand, your product offerings, and your services. Who's already engaging with your target audience? How and where? Thinking deeply about these questions will help you get started on social media. The third step for getting started on social media is to determine your unique value proposition. A value proposition tells folks why they should do business with you versus someone else. And it makes clear how what the benefits are of your products or services. It makes it clear from the onset. Your unique value proposition could be something like you have data that no one else has. You could have expertise that you want to share with them. So let's say I'm a trainer. I have expertise from years of being a trainer that I can share with an audience to entice them to sign up for my training services. You could have imagery. This is something related to my full-time job at NASA. Something that makes us really unique is that people can come and see beautiful imagery of space that, our astronauts and our instruments in space have captured. That sets us apart from so many other brands. You could also offer a product. You can offer a service. And I just was thinking of another example here. Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies. What's something unique that the school offers? They offer continued education courses for professionals who are looking to advance their careers, looking to maybe learn about another topic and to get educated by professionals who have experience in industry. That is something that's very unique to Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies, not only related to the certificates that they offer, but also the coursework, some of the opportunities that they have for students who are enrolled. And when they are using social media, as an example, they can use that framing to say, here's why you should enroll in a program here. Here's why this workshop or this class or this certificate is value added for you. That's Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies unique value proposition. So take a moment to think about what's that unique value proposition for you as an individual, as a company that you are representing, and letting that help lay the groundwork for while you're using social media. Step 4 for getting started on social media is researching social media channels. When choosing a social platform, it's less important to think about your brand, but also more important to think about your ideal customer and where they spend their time. So while the earliest platforms that could be called social media began around the 90s, it was the late 2000s that Facebook and Twitter grew rapidly into tens of thousands of users. What you'll see here on this slide is the growth of social media use by adults. And this is based on some research and studies from the Pew Research Center. They began tracking social media adoption in 2005, when just 5% of American adults were using at least one of these platforms. By 2011, that share had risen to nearly half of Americans, and today, more than 70% of all of the public use some type of social media. Beyond researching the channels and where your audiences are engaging, it's also important to research all of your top competitors. Checking their social media pages to see what kind of content they're posting, how often they're posting, and how many users are engaging with their content. This will give you insights in your industry and what your audience segments will be looking for, and it'll help inform which social channels you may decide to use. And digging a little deeper, one takeaway from this specific slide is that each social media platform has its own personality, functionality, and a sense of community. Twitter is great for conversations and trending topics, or if you're trying to reach journalists, while LinkedIn is a great platform for sharing professional expertise and business opportunities. Snapchat was the first to introduce disappearing posts, but now you can do the same on Instagram stories. YouTube is sought after for a lot of how-to content and tutorials, and TikTok is embraced by younger audiences interested in snackable video content. Spend some time understanding the channels you're considering and make sure that you understand what it requires to be successful. As an example, if you are looking to create TikToks, do you have the bandwidth to take a look at trending audio, trending themes of how people are creating TikToks to make sure that you're being really timely and relevant in your content production process? Thinking about these things will not only help you pick the best platforms for your company or brand, but it'll also help you avoid any missteps in building your social media strategy and getting started. Step 5 for getting started on social media is to build on what you already have. If you were to do an assessment right now on what you already own, that could be something like your website. You could own a patent, you could own a mobile app, you could own your web domain. Use that to branch out when developing your social media plan. Um, as you'll see here, it was listed or anticipated in 2010 that mobile will be bigger than desktop internet in 5 years. And we've seen that people are really glued to their devices. So if you already have a website or you have a web domain that you're sitting on and you bought that web domain because you want to own that name, you can build on it when it comes to getting started on social media, using social media to drive to the website that you already own. As an example, knowing that mobile is the first screen where most people consume content. Step 6 for building your social media strategy and getting started on social media. Once you've thought through your audience, your goals, what you already have, your unique value proposition, it's time to get started creating content. And creating content can look different for everyone. It could be something like creating filters, like you see here on this slide. It could be something like having live streaming sessions where you just go live on Instagram or go live on Facebook or Meta and talk to your audience in a really authentic way. You can host Q&A sessions. You can have giveaways and contests or user-generated campaigns. Once you create those tactics, look at the data that's available to you on all of these platforms and then iterate. What is your audience telling you? As soon as you post anything on social media, you will get an immediate response. And that response can be something really overwhelming in terms of a post went viral and a lot of people saw it, or it can be underwhelming in that it fell flat and you didn't get the engagement that you expected. But that data can help drive and inform your social media strategy. With all of these tools, even if you have a really small budget, what I love about it is that it provides you on the back end with this data. It's so much data that's available to you on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube. Using YouTube as an example, you can figure out where people are dropping off. If you create a 15-minute video and the user retention is only 2 minutes, that can tell you, all right, I'm really not capturing their attention. Maybe I should create shorter videos. On Instagram, you can look at your demographics and see, okay, am I reaching more women than men? Do I want it to be the opposite of who I currently am reaching? And developing tactics that, again, will help you reach your overarching goals. Beyond what I've shared today, before I close, I also want to provide some insight that I have learned from practitioners and colleagues who operate in this space. While I have a lot of experience doing social media, one of the things that is important to me and helps me be successful in my career is always being willing to change and to learn. And so I look at what other big brands are doing. I look at what small businesses are doing. I look at what creators are doing. And I felt it was really important for me today to share some perspective from social media practitioners. And here's some of those takeaways from some of my trusted colleagues who work in this space. Always ask why. Why do you need to post this piece of content? Why do you need to branch out on 5 more platforms? Why do you want to create this specific product? It's important to know that the real experts are doing it day in and day out. Even if you are coming from a place where you have a large team or you want to delegate social media to someone, I encourage you to, even in your personal time, to sign up for some of these platforms and learn how it's done. It's been my experience, as well as some of my colleagues, that you become an expert at social media by doing it, and by being in the space and seeing how users are interacting, engaging, and sharing and being true to themselves and the communities that they built there. This one is incredibly important to me, and I love sharing this one. Use a channel well or not at all. While there are dozens of channels that you can choose from, it's better off to pick 1 or 2 and to invest your resources to getting your strategy right for those 2 than spreading yourself too thin and being everywhere. And so if you, again, take a look back at the 6 steps that I mentioned when you're thinking of, your why for being on your social media, your audience and who you're trying to reach, using that to inform which channels you're going to use. As an example, if I want to reach young women, I'm probably going to use Tumblr. I'm probably going to use Instagram and Snapchat. I wouldn't necessarily maybe use Facebook if I'm trying to reach a younger audience, as an example. And so if I want to use a channel well and hone on a specific audience, thinking about which channels will best position you to reach your audience. I mean, remember, going where they are is a good step in the right direction. Other advice from some of my colleagues is learning how to build and maintain an editorial calendar. This saves you so much time and it helps you with long-term planning. One of the things I've actually learned beyond just social media practitioners, but also from experts at these different platforms, using YouTube as an example. I have a regular call with YouTube reps. One of the things that they shared with me about working with influencers is that some influencers right now probably are already working on their holiday campaigns. And for me, like the busyness of my day-to-day job, I'm just like, wow, I don't even really know what our plans are for, let's say, Independence Day. Like, people are really thinking that far ahead in terms of what kind of content they are going to create, what kind of shoots and campaigns, and what kind of resources they're allocating in, the 3rd and 4th quarter of the year. So by building that editorial calendar, it sets you up for success to plant those seeds early with your team, also with stakeholders, and even some of those brand ambassadors about what you want to achieve on social media and how you can work together, and not figure things out just day by day. Finding areas for collaboration and info sharing to include in your strategy. I was talking a little ahead of myself, but those kind of go together. Again, you don't have to do social media alone, and it's figuring out who those brand ambassadors are. It may be a sister organization. It may even be some of your employees who can participate in social media takeovers or a day in the life or Q&As. But finding those areas for collaboration takes some of the stress off of your shoulders of having to do it all by yourself, because social media really is a team sport. And last but certainly not least, in terms of additional perspective from practitioners who operate in this space, is the importance of keeping an eye on the big picture, because what you do online impacts your brand, it impacts your team, your customers, and your bottom line. Even audiences who may not necessarily be engaging with each piece of content that you publish, they're looking and seeing at how you respond to others, as an example. And so always put your best foot forward and keep your eye on that big picture. That's the last slide I have for you today, and I am happy to answer any questions that you have for me about getting started on social media, about the social media management certificate program. So feel free to add them to the chat.
Thank you very much, Brittany. I'm going to ask the first question, if I may. And that is, well, first of all, I want to thank you and NASA. I was in second grade when John Glenn went around, made his orbit. And I remember sitting in a Maryland elementary school watching a black screen television. And then I remember watching on colored television when the first man on the moon, the first lunar landing. And now I follow your social media assets. They're so beautiful. They're so informing. It's incredible how far you've come. And I think it's just so important that everyone has access to the science that NASA is producing. So thank you. It seems like one of the major themes of your presentation today is you not only need to have a strategy that is well thought out, well integrated into your overall business strategy, but you need to operationalize it and you need to constantly refresh that. In your experience over the years, do you see what is some of the major stumbling blocks? Is that one of the major stumbling blocks that many businesses and organizations think, well, it's Tuesday, let's post something to Facebook? Is it critical to have a well thought through strategy and the well thought through processes to operationalize that strategy?
Yes, wonderful question. Absolutely. It is imperative, it's a must that you have that social media strategy and foundation. Essentially, when you have that developed and you have that outline, it becomes your North Star that guides everything. When you think about your value proposition and what matters to you as an individual, as a company, as a brand, no matter what happens in the world, what happens online, that will guide you. So if you establish at the beginning that you're trying to build an audience, as an example, everything that you do should support that. So that's not just on social media, but your traditional communications tactics as well, whether that's media outreach or community events, in-person events, any advertising. So I definitely encourage all brands to build out a social media strategy and to adapt in real time as well. I think that hits on a second point that's important, is that when you have your strategy, you have to remember that it's an evolving document and that you have to be nimble as well, because you can have a social media strategy, but then there are things that happen that are not within your control that will shift what your strategy is. One of the things that we are looking at now that kind of, again, related to social media, but also digital strategy, is the proliferation of AI. And so how does that impact me and my brand? As I mentioned, using NASA as an example, one of our unique value propositions is the imagery that we have. And you mentioned John Glenn and astronauts going to the moon. And so now that you have, people online who can create imagery that looks real, but is not real, that can, for lack of better words, become a threat to our strategy in terms of photos may go viral that are not based in truth. People can alter our photos. And so our strategy has to make sure, again, our North Star is to communicate to the public and to be transparent about what the space agency is doing for them and how their taxpayer dollars are being used. And so even with AI, we have to stay true to that. We have to make sure that, if we do consider dabbling in that space, that we're being completely transparent about, hey, this photo may be altered, right? So hopefully that answers your question about your strategy, staying true to that, but also being nimble.
It does, and thank you so much. And we have so many good questions coming in. So I'm curious to know, how do you stay up to date with the latest social media developments? I can appreciate that question. What is the best way to allocate our social media budget? Two very good questions.
Oh, wonderful question. So I'll take the first question first. How do I stay up to date? This goes back to one of the points I made earlier. It's really about being in this space, being a practitioner and, following others in industry on Twitter. It's on Twitter that I learned last week that Twitter's changing how they're doing check marks for government agencies. It wasn't a newsletter. It wasn't that I had a meeting with Twitter. And so being engaged in the space and knowing who the key players are who kind of share news related to the latest developments, that's important. What I've seen on Twitter is that there are Twitter lists that have already been curated about, digital practitioners that you can follow as an example. You can always follow or subscribe to email updates from third-party companies like Social Media Today, just as an example, to stay up to date on social media. But it's been my experience that being engaged on the platforms is the best tried and true way to know when things are changing. And the
And
second question was about budgets, or did you have a follow-up to that?
no, that is the budget. So how do we, all businesses have and organizations in the federal government have limited resources. How to
Absolutely.
budget this?
Yes, how to budget it. So I've had experiences where I've had a budget of $0, and I've had experiences where I've had a budget of, you know, lots of marketing money. I will say that the best money you can spend on social media really is on people. Hiring a good team, whether that's a social media strategist or a photographer or videographer, that's where I would encourage you to get started. I do want to also acknowledge that some of these platforms are kind of pay to play, where based on the algorithms, you may not reach as many people if you don't boost your posts. But the very onset, you have to have content to reach them. And so that's why I think that if you're looking at your budget, and if you have strapped resources, the most important thing to think about is compensating someone fairly who can build out your social media strategy, who can be a community manager engaging in real time, because you don't want this to be a broadcast medium. If you're a small business and let's say you have a limited budget, I would not put that all into ads. I would maybe split that budget between hiring someone part-time who can help manage your accounts and using the rest for social media targeted ads. To that end, when it comes to social media targeting, as an example, yes, you can boost post or pay to promote, but some of the tools have native functionality where you can do that on your own. Using LinkedIn as an example, if I want to reach a specific audience segment, I can geolocate my post. If I'm having an event, let's say in Washington, D.C., I can share that post on Facebook and have it go out to people within a certain radius of that zip code. So hopefully that answers the question about budget. Happy to share some other thoughts such as and considerations about budget. What kind of tools will you be using? Considering something like a social media management tool, a Hootsuite, or a Sprinkler as an example. If you want to use some tools to create graphics and you want to do that in-house, maybe you want a Canva account and you want, enhanced Canva account. Other things that you could spend your money on, paying influencers. That's another consideration because there are some influencers who maybe can reach more people than you can organically, and they can be brand ambassadors for you. So maybe that's one influencer campaign a quarter. If you have a lot of money, there are a lot of things you can spend it on, but my experience would be think about people first and hiring those to get you started.
Great advice. Excuse me. Question from Francine. What is a metaverse and how is it used to build business in the world of social media? Are the two even connected?
Yes, they very much are connected. So the metaverse essentially is a way for people to connect, whether it's through virtual reality or augmented reality. So it's basically using computer generated graphics to create an experience or a space or a community. To where people can engage. An example of that, I'll give you again a relevant example from my experience, is by working with Meta. We at NASA have taken some of our launches where we again broadcast the launch coverage across traditional television, across social media, but within the metaverse in itself, what we will do is we will set up a stream where folks can wear their Oculus glasses and they can experience it. And it seems like they're at the launch pad and they're feeling this and seeing it with others in real time. Um, it can be used to build a business depending on what that business is. For us, we've been experimenting with it for the last, I would say, year or two. So it's really new to us, but I do see a lot of utility in it. As an example, because we have a very recognizable brand, one of the things we're considering now in the metaverse when it comes to building business is, hey, what if we offer avatars that look space centric? What if we offer a shirt or a hat that has a NASA, logo on it, as an example? So when it comes to building business, there may be things that, let's say, someone can purchase in the metaverse that, again, they can also purchase on your website. So I do think that there's opportunity to use the metaverse to build business, but it's about being well versed in what the options are, and then also experimenting with it on your own. I'm not sure if I mentioned that before, but for me, before we got too involved in the metaverse, I got an Oculus headset. It's like, what is this all about? My nephew and I've seen other people, play with these and talk about gaming and VR and AR, but it's like, let me immerse myself in it so I know what that user experience is like. Same thing with TikTok. I'm way too old to create TikToks, but I love TikTok and it's my favorite platform. And so I'm looking and I'm learning from my nieces and I'm, again, seeing how it's used and just generating ideas of like, oh, that's amazing. Or I would have never thought of that. And so with the metaverse and any new tools and technology, chatbot being another example, create an account on your own before you create your business account, and kind of experimenting and following and seeing the trends is something that will always serve you well.
Thank you so much. Question from Yvette. Do you have information regarding what social channels serve which demographics, and are there sources that help us find those demographic matches to these social media channels?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find some of this data. Usually each platform publishes their own data about their audience segments. But if you're looking for a one-stop shop to find that data, I would recommend that you go to Pew Research Center. It's a nonprofit organization, and they publish reports about social media trends and habits pretty much annually, and they have some great granular level data about audience segments. So if you want to know, as an example, how people in rural areas are using or not using smartphones, or how they're using social media, you can find that out there. If you want to see, the percentage of, I was going to say preteens, but usually they do data on adults considered 18 or older, of adults that use Snapchat, as an example. It'll break down the demographics in terms of gender, race, ethnicity, age. It's really, really helpful for me. But one caveat I want to add there is that while there's data out there, generally speaking, about who is using these platforms, your audience that you've built may be different. So let's say the general data says that really young audiences are on Instagram and the audiences tend to be male. You may have, for your small business, you may have curated an audience that is more so female and skewing older just based on the content that you share. I've seen some fashion bloggers, some women who are a little older who have an amazing following on Instagram. And I would suspect that they have people who are their peers, again, older, who are following them and loving their style, saying, hey, this is gonna, help me shape, my workwear, as an example. And so again, while there's data out there that generally tells you who is engaging on the platforms, it's also important to look at the data specific to the pages that you have built.
I know you're very busy, but can you entertain one or two more questions, Brittany?
Yes, of course. And I see a question in the chat asking where to find that data. So it's Pew Research Center. I will try to find a link and put it in chat before we end. But yes, happy to answer any other question.
What separates a good campaign on social media from a great campaign, regardless of the platform?
Ooh, okay.
Good to great.
Good to great. Uh, I think that a great social media campaign has considered all of the possibilities. A great campaign is one that will adapt to real time, because there are any circumstance that can change your campaign. So, as an example, I don't know if I want to use this example. Um, well, I'll use it because it's very recent and some of you may have heard about it. But as someone who used to do social media for the Army, I've seen recently that they pulled some of their ads, including an actor who allegedly was involved in a physical altercation. And so while I'm sure that they've built a social media strategy around this great commercial and ad and video and getting out the word about their new recruitment approach, a great social media strategy will allow them to pivot. They had no idea that again this actor was going to get in this situation, but a great social media strategy will have options A, B, and C, because there's no guarantee after, even if you've done consumer testing and you have talked to everyone and you have all this beautiful plan on paper, there's no guarantee that it's going to land the way that you want. So a good social media strategy will allow you to adapt in real time.
Thank you so much. And again, I would encourage everyone who's listening today, if you have not viewed or participated in any of NASA's social media, do so. I guess the best place is nasa.gov as an introduction to find
Sure,
all of that
sure, most
wonderful
definitely.
content.
You can follow us at NASA on most platforms. As a government agency, we cannot use TikTok. So personally, I love TikTok. We can't use it, but that's not to say that we cannot work with influencers and others to arm them with information to inspire them to share our content on that platform. But yeah, it's been great chatting with all of you. If you want to follow up with me, feel free to do so. I have been involved with the social media certificate program since I believe 2012. And it's one of the most fulfilling things being able to teach social media classes about writing and strategy and social media tactics and kind of just get in the weeds and all these things. So it's my hope that some of you will sign up for the certificate program and classes, and that we'll continue the conversation.
Brittany, it is an honor always to speak with you. Thank you for all of those years of service to Georgetown University and in the classroom as a subject matter expert. Your contributions have been invaluable. I hope you have a wonderful spring day here in Washington, D.C. And again, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. Hope you found this entertaining and to be very informational, a lot of knowledge here at Knowledge at Noon, Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies. Have a good day.
Thank you.